Amara, hi. Good to
Hi.
see you. It is great to see you. Um, Mara and I have been through a lot together over the years, and it's great to reconnect with her. Um, so this summit, the name of this summit is What Women Want, and I'm not kidding you. Probably this woman I'm talking to has asked that question a lot and has had lots of different answers through many, many different women and men. And so we have a true expert here today to help us answer this question. And so before I start in on this interview, I want you to just give us a little bit of an idea about your background. I think, and I may be wrong, but I think that you probably came out of the womb thinking about what is sex and sexuality and what is this men-women thing. Am I wrong?
No, yes, you were wrong.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so I'm saying you're wrong only because, like, when I grew up, I grew up like a lot of people in a family that never talked about sex, never thought about sex, and I just sort of like leapt into relationships, had a bunch of crashes, and like one really big crash, and I was just like, whoa. And then I began the journey, and I began to understand, this is quite a while ago, that, oh my goodness, you could learn about this stuff. You could
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
about sex, you could learn about relationships, you could learn and study and practice and really get stronger in this arena. I just never knew that you could even do that. And so going from a place where I had a pretty typical upbringing in some respects, perhaps, that sexuality and stuff, it was just never mentioned. You're just supposed to kind of, figure it out, right? And I like to just jokingly say, yeah, I figured it out on the front seat of a Chevy very early on. I pretty much, could figure out what to do. And then the confusion and the difficulties, and it's supposed to be a great thing, and yet I found out from an early age, it's like, if you don't really take care, it's like, oh my gosh, it's wonderful on the one hand to enjoy our sexuality and intimacy, but it also causes just so much confusion and distress. And so I saw how much distress that it was causing me personally. And then I began to notice around that really the root cause of many people's difficulty in life with their careers, with their aspirations and so forth, came from, at the root, at the core, a confusion, a deep confusion and a deep insecurity about our sexuality. And so I just saw it, that it was a major root cause. And so I've devoted many, many years and have had a blast traveling around the world and exploring and so forth. So again, I'm really looking forward to this
Yeah.
conversation with you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that. Because my experience of you is you're so comfortable with your sexuality, and obviously you've had an incredible journey, and what you've done seems to very much work. It's worked for you, and I know it's worked for people that you've worked with. So that's really wonderful that you've had that journey, which I think many of us have, especially people who maybe were raised in a religion like I was raised, and that confusion, and who am I, and that sense of, what does it mean if I have had sex with someone, and what does that even? I still think we have those questions today. It's like, what is our relationship now? Like there's so many. It's very confusing. So everything you said is 100% really true, and so much needed to have someone talk to us about it, who's had experience and found some clarity and can help us through these waters. Before we start, I've been asking everyone this question to begin with, because this is about what women want. So the focus is really about women. Another time we'll do one about what men want. but women always have to come first, right? So what does it mean do you think, in your experience now in 2022, what does it mean to be a woman today?
Wow. Well, that is such a huge question.
Yeah.
And really it comes for me at the very root and the core of it is that Shakti, feminine energy, is absolutely wild. It's unpredictable. And I don't think we're any closer today of knowing, what women are about or what women want or anything about the feminine. To me, the highest respect of the feminine is to be like wildly and excitedly in the space of the unknown. And so
Wow.
I think the minute that we think we know what, frankly, any other human being wants, what we think we know beforehand, I think we're toast. I think it's a great question, and at the same time, um, we can really gain insight about the differences. And yet it really comes down to, as you know, Arorah, that being with this person in this moment, in this second, is trumps everything that we're going to talk about that you think you know in advance. Because really, it's not about sexual energy, and sexuality is not about information. It's about the transformation. It's about the spontaneity, and it's about the vulnerability in that space. And as scary as that is, it's really about navigating with clarity, with certainty, and with care through those spaces of the unknown.
Wow. Wow. Well said. What exactly are you doing now, in terms of your practice around, um, the masculine, the feminine, relationships? What are the things that you're doing now?
Oh
With
my goodness. Well, I'm just happy to say, honestly, I am more passionate about sharing and being with people in the variety of ways right now than ever in my whole life.
That's amazing.
I'm,
Because you've done so much. That's
I'm
amazing.
like, I'm just, perpetually reinventing.
Yes.
When COVID happened, I had I had sold out workshops in Prague and so on.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was like, really booked. And I was just went inside intuitively and I said, I can't go to Europe. And right 2 days after I called, I told the sponsor, I said, I'm not coming. And they were like, what? I mean, we have 100 people, and I just said, I'm not coming. Right. And 2 days later, I would have been stuck there. They shut down the airports. And so, all of this work that I've done has really strengthened my intuition. And I just said, no, it didn't matter how much people or money. I mean, I really miss the opportunity. I do want to go back. And so I took that time, really 2.5 to 3 years, to totally reinvent myself. And, and so I'm doing this hybrid thing, right? Where it's called deeply bonded love. And I'm working with people, the individually coaching, mentoring, deep coaching, and also small group matrix, and then also trainings that I've gathered over the last 35 years or so. And so I get to do this hybrid mix that I'm just so excited about. Why? Because it works. it it's the combination of the in-depth personal, nobody's a cookie cutter, really tweaking individually what's happening and what's your personal history, and also using that group matrix, what I love. And then also the deep trainings that you can do, which we'll talk about a little today. And the other thing I'm doing finally, I started having I'm going to be very selective. I'm going to be meeting live again and doing live retreats because I absolutely love them. And there's something so unique and so different about meeting live.
Yeah.
And so I love the combination here. I love Zoom, love Zoom. And also I love hugging people and meeting in person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think we're craving that as well. Like we're done. We need to be able to connect with each other heart to heart. I just went to an event a week ago in Florida, and it was great to be around a lot of people and just all that energy that's in a room like that. Yeah. Um, all right, well, let's just get into some of these questions.
All right.
So, what do you feel women want or need from men?
Okay. Well, as I said a moment ago, in some ways, we want the same things. As human beings, we really do need to have clarity about where we're coming from and what are the expectations. And we both want certainty. Okay. We want a safety, a security. And at the same time, we also want something uncertain. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I really go deeply in my program about these things. And I'll just give you a couple of the highlights,
Yeah,
the yummy, juicy pieces.
love
And
it.
we also both want care. Okay. I've been doing this for a long time. And like one really fun thing that I have done when I meet live is I separate the group of women and a group of men, and I ask the question, well, if you're going to be lovers with somebody, what are the 6 absolutely essential, crucial things that you got to have? Okay, so I ask the men to get in a group and come up with, and they have to agree on these 6 things, and then women do the same. Okay, so I'll start off with the men, and then because your question's about women, I'll focus then on the women. So the men get together, and this is over a span of like over 10 years or whatever. And by and large, they come up on average with very similar things. So what men want from women is they want to feel this like uninhibited, almost this wild, this vibrant, this passionate, this open, this energetic thing. And so they want this like flow of things, right? And so, but at the same time, as we know, what drives men crazy about women is that they never know what they want. And that's, the basis of your whole question. It's like they just change their mind all the time. They're unpredictable. So it's like, it's such a paradox because they love that open and uninhibited and unknown, and they crave that. And that's really, I believe, what we give to each other. And at the same time, it drives them nuts, right?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out, it's the same thing with women. I do the same thing. And by and large, like over average, I ask women, okay, what are these top qualities that you got to have if you're going to be lovers with somebody? And they want the really similar things. And it's fascinating. Okay. So they want confidence, they want strength, they want steadiness, they want somebody that is reliable, somebody who would commit. And it's also interesting, they want some humor as well. That's
Oh, yeah.
really interesting. It's very high quality. I've seen this scan over many years, and so because that means that the gentleman is like comfortable enough in his own skin to lighten up, and he can make jokes of things. And so that's a sign of a strength, is that a man can lighten up and be humorous. But at the same time, when all the women, they want this steadiness, this predictability, it just drives them crazy. They get bored out of their minds when it's just too predictable,
Right.
and everything is just, the same, and nothing. So they want spontaneity. Women want to be excited. They want to be surprised. They want to be taken into the unknown and the vastness. And they don't want to have the same thing over and over again. So it's this dueling paradox that I find is just makes it like so much fun to explore. And as I say, I really explore deeply in this in my program, in my live retreats, because this is the heart of it all, because we actually feed each other with our differences. And there's actually 10 things I focus on, but that's just a start.
That's great. You're reminding me, of David Data's work. He does it around men, but he talks about the feminine and how they need variety. He's like look at their shoes, like they can't, like can't just have like if you forced a woman to have one pair of shoes, But at the same time, men need that variety as well, right?
That's why it's a
Yeah,
human
very
need.
human. Yeah.
Men need big time. like, why are there so many affairs? They need variety.
Yeah.
They need exploration. And
Yeah.
that's why I say these are certain things that are the same. We have the need for certainty,
Yeah.
and we have that need for
For
adventure, for
variety.
fun, for variety.
Yeah.
And also part of variety is state change. What do I mean? Well, when you have an orgasm, for example, you're changing your state.
Right.
So that drive that men want to have orgasticness and they want to like experience bliss. They really want that variety from the everyday ho hum. They want a state change. And guess what? Women want that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is really good. Like this is really good to pinpoint this and just put it right out there, because what you're talking about also has some, like what you said, they're almost like oxymorons. They're almost like work against each other. I want you to be very monogamous, but yet I want you to be interesting, and so like, this idea of like relationships over time become homogenous, right? And you're all sort of the same. What it is polarity that makes us attracted to each other. So if we're too homogenous, we want the polarity, but then the homogeny makes us feel safe. How do you deal with all that?
Well, really, I do my best to really lighten up about it, because like the way I put it is this: people want love and relationships and sex. They want it to be like a good dog, like you walk in the home and the dog licks you all over and is so happy when you feed him good food, and you take it out on a leash and it says, it sits when you say sit, and it walks when you say walk. So they want it to be like steady and predictable. And I just feel like, my view is that it's more like a cat. I mean, like a cat is like, a cat does what she wants. A cat has this mixture of coziness and freedom. And I mean, goodness sakes, you don't put a cat on a leash, and you don't put a woman on a leash. All right. When you give a woman the space to roam, and she has this freedom to explore and express herself rather than hone in on just one set of circumstances, right? She has, and she opens her spectrum, her daily life, her experiences, her adventures with men. I'm not saying that she needs to sleep with a variety of men, but she needs to have the openness so that she can explore interesting things and interesting, exciting things. The trouble that I see a lot of women make the mistake of was they go for that predictability too much, right? And they want that one person, which is understandable. We all want a beloved, right?
Yeah.
But inside of that relationship, she tones down her ability to explore the full spectrum of masculine energy. She turns it down too much. So like, the best of all worlds is to have one steady, like really honest, deep, profound relationship, and then also have that freedom. You're not on a leash. That freedom to be who you are and explore who you are. And that's why I have that freedom, and I have that security as well. Okay. And so I think we need both. Plus, I think women are a cat, because like a cat will just do what it wants to do. It's so different than that predictable dog, right? And it comes right on your computer and sits on your keys, right? And when you got this deadline, and it does what it wants to do. So retaining
The queen.
yeah, you got to like retain that space of like, I'm going to live my life the way I want to. And that's why I'm so excited about life, because I just believe that I have the expectation that there will be new things coming into my world until my last breath. And that's just a done deal. That's the way it is. That's what I expect to happen.
Yeah.
And that's the secret to me, to having like a blast this lifetime.
It's so beautiful, because one thing about you, Amara, is that whatever you're passionate about, you are all in, and you go all in on it. And so it's like whatever it is about you, you're going to learn every aspect of it. You're going to know it all. And that's, I think that any woman who is all in on things, that's such a beautiful thing to pull out from them, to not be threatened by, if you can not be threatened by that, but actually nurture it and encourage it and cultivate it, she may, have something to bring to you in that regard. I want to ask you a question because I think, what you're doing here is like blowing maybe some stories here that we all have about what everything should look like in this neat little box. Do you think men and women have the wrong expectations?
Well, that is actually, I'm so glad you mentioned this. It's my favorite topic right now.
Okay.
I believe that everything hinges on our expectation.
Right.
Like 90% of what we experience is influenced and impacted by our own expectations. So now there are certain circumstances that we can't just believe away. We can't just change them. There are many people, women I work with and men, but I'll focus on the women, women that they're in a situation where it's tough and they would like to have a secure and safe space, but it's not secure and it is not safe. And there's a lot of fear. And like these days, 8 out of 10 people I speak to have really high levels of anxiety, and their relationships are activating, triggering traumas, and so on. And so the good news is that we are not doomed by things that have happened to us, no matter what kind of family. And this is what I am discovering, and this is what I'm so excited about, is that we're not limited to our past. We're not doomed by the things that have happened to us. But does it take work? Yes, it does. Because these things have been, as you know, conditioned, these experiences. We've had shocks, we've had traumas, we've had patterns the way we've grown up with, and then we bring them into our relationships and so forth. Okay. We can unravel and recreate and reinvent new neural pathways, new habits. All right. And so that's what expectations are. So in a nutshell, if you expect going into, for example, it's anything, but just for example, if you expect to go into a intimate encounter, if you expect to be neglected, if you expect to be disappointed, if you expect to be triggered, whatever, if you walk in and you go into any situation with a negative, limited expectation based on something that has happened before, I call it, we have these, our brains are prediction machines. What we predict is, by and large, that is a huge influencer on what is going to happen. The good news is we can just flip the switch. We can begin to condition a better experience. We can condition. I play the game to win. So when I walk into any encounter, and I wish I could say to you, oh, all of my sexual experiences are like hunky-dory and they're all super fantastic. But the truth is they go up and down. And what amplifies your intimacy, what makes it a better experience, what makes it closer, more loving, more wild, more kind, more fun, all the things that we want, right, is what you expect. So what do I mean? Okay. So what kind of things could you say before going into any encounter? I'll just keep this really, really simple. Okay. It's like, well, I expect to have a beautiful connection. And I thank my partner in advance. It's like, thank you so much for sharing your energy with me. I expect that we're going to have a beautiful, intimate time tonight. And guess what? It's a huge influence on what actually happens. Okay. So our expectations can either limit and tone down and bounce us back into the past, or we can begin to learn how to consciously with passion create expectations that this is going to be great. Like before this interview, I said, okay, this is just going to be a great conversation with Arorah.
That's what I said too.
This is going to be great. Okay. I know it sounds really, really simple. And, this is a lot different than just, saying nice things. Look, I'm not saying that bad stuff and hard stuff and challenging stuff isn't going to happen. It does happen. It has happened to me recently. It's not like that ever goes away, ever. And at the same time, I am not limited by those experiences. It's what we make that mean. Does that make sense, Arorah?
Yeah, you said it's like you're refusing to be jaded.
Yeah, and
Jaded,
refusing to be jaded and choosing to be elated.
Elated. There we go. We got a new one. Refuses and elated. What about? So, how do you pivot when you are disappointed? When something happens and it's like not what you expected, and how do you pivot? I mean, like people do get married and they're like, you weren't the person that I thought you were, or they change, How do you pivot? How do you deal with disappointment?
Okay, I'm going to answer your question. I got to just pop in 1 second and plug my computer in.
Okay. All right.
I just noticed the battery came
So
on.
this is the feminine in her glory.
Okay.
Because there's probably 5 things you did this morning because we're so full of our own variety of life.
So, okay, I want to do a fun way of talking about pivot. This is another one of my favorite topics, and I go into great depth in this in my program. Okay, and I just want to share one of these simple ways that the couples absolutely have a blast with. Okay, so one big thing, the overarching principle of what allows us to shift, or you call it pivot. The overarching attitude to carry, to cultivate, is to stay curious. Okay, is to not know. Okay, and that's what keeps a relationship perpetually interesting. Okay, and so you stay curious. The minute, as I said in the very first beginning, the minute we think we know, we're toast. Okay?
Right.
And so the easiest way, if nothing else, if you forget anything else, and yet this is something that I work on training the couples that I work with. It's like, if all else fails, ask a question. Okay. Ask any question. And that is the essence of pivoting and shifting. Now, another fun way, I just want to share this really fun way that I found really, really works. And I'm all about, I have all these kind of like, so quote unquote advanced techniques, which I love, by the way. All right. And when I work really closely with couples, I begin to, when the foundations of communication and healing and forgiveness is laid a foundation. We can talk more about that if you like. After that, I begin to drip in some really, really beautiful, profound techniques. Okay. That heighten experiences of joy and pleasure. Okay. And yet what I have found over the years is that just trying to do those things without healing some of the underlying foundational pieces, it doesn't last and it doesn't work. And often it triggers, it can do more harm than good. So I really, really like to create a gradual foundation of connection again. And this little thing I want to share with you is one of the fun ways.
Okay.
Because nobody, in all the time I've been doing this, I haven't had one person or one couple come up to me and say, Amara, I just need to have less fun. I'm just having too much fun and adventure in my life. I gotta tone it down, So I think it's really, really important to have some fun.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a game, and it's so simple. It's called Switch. And so one of the ways, of course, that we can just drag the energy down in any situation, whether it's, between two women or with man and woman, whatever, is to just start analyzing or criticizing and all that stuff that of course we don't want to do. Okay. So this game is a little sort of a wake-up call, and it's a neutral thing. And so like if you're in the middle of like a little tiff, or something is just, gnarly or negative or whatever, and both partner, whoever does it first, I mean, that's the game. You just say switch, and it's just kind of like a whoa, oh yeah, I'm getting into my stuff, because we all do it. I do it,
Exactly.
and so like my partner will say switch, and I'm like, oh right, I'm doing that thing again, right? And so and it's really neutral. You see, it's not putting me down.
Yeah.
It's you could say shift, but I like switch, so it's called the
Yeah.
switch game.
Yeah.
And the couple started doing this that I've been working with, and it just went viral. I mean, they absolutely love it, because it's fun, and it's not putting the other person down, and it's not trying to analyze it. And we all want to wake up.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to stay in their stuck stuff.
Exactly.
Everybody, we
Yeah.
don't like ourselves. We don't like ourselves when I start fighting. And one of the things that I do, and it's a foundational piece, and in the program that I share, both live and with the program that I was talking about, is called Deeply Bonded Love. And one of the things that I've realized is that one of the hardest things that I've had to do and change in my own life was this habit and pattern that I picked up early from, my parents and my history and blah. I brought it into all of my relationships, was fighting and with conflict, right? And so this is also answering your question about pivoting. And so what I started doing was creating this way of having what I call a healthy fight. Okay. And I also, along with that, with that, I help people to understand that, like, we all have these different lovers styles, these different lovers types, and it's different than the 5 love languages. This is really, it's called Eros, because it has to do with our erotic life, how we are either an emotional water lover, a reflective wind lover, an orgasmic earth lover, or a sensuous, sexy, spiritual fire lover. Okay. And so when I help people understand their natural type, their natural proclivity, there's just a lot of self-acceptance, and they start really getting into like, okay, this is my way of being a lover. And if I'm with a partner, maybe it's the same, but maybe it's different. Okay. And so it's really a fun way to amplify and have fun with the differences. I guess if there was a theme for today, that's like, have fun and understand your differences so that you can gain energy by your differences instead of losing energy and making it wrong.
When you said the 4 different types of Eros, that's what you said. Are you saying that sometimes you could change types, so like you could just style flex into another type, or are you saying
what I found, it's not a rigid thing, but it's more, you do like have a core. For example, a water emotional heart lover.
Yeah.
They tend to really, really love the romance, the flowers, the sensitivity. They need that in order to open.
Yeah.
Now we all have earth, wind, water, and fire. So we've got them all already. But
Right.
what do we lead with? What
Yeah.
is our natural proclivity? And then the second part, and I go into this in greater depth, of course, we have a hidden one. And so let's say like my general way to open the door for the game of love is to be a water lover. So I really like that sensitivity, that care. I like to be, complimented, affectionate, and all of that. So why? Because I need that safety and that security again, right? Now, other people are like, they need that spark, that fire. They need that. And other people need that earthy, orgasmic, like I need to be touched and hugged, and we need to dance, and I need to feel the physical first, right? And other people like me, I'm a wind lover, right? We need to feel that intellectual buzz. Like I need to be like stimulate my mind.
F this here first, right?
Like turn me on with talking and conversation. It's kind of like, like back in the day, I would have like a one night encounter, and then, then you wake up in the morning and you can't talk at all. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot see this person anymore because we can't even have a conversation. That was such a turnoff for me, you know, and at the same time, like, show me an intellectually stimulating person. And I'm like, wow, the looks is secondary, but like, wow, they got such a sexy mind. I just really get turned on. See? So that's what I'm talking about. So it's not that we so much change over time. It's that we have another one that's hidden. And so like, I'm a hidden fire lover. And basically bottom line, the hidden one, so you got one is sort of your go-to, the natural. And then the hidden one is the one you long for, you want more of. Okay. And so that one is this layer underneath when it starts, humming. And it's like, really what I really, really long for is that fire, that heat and that spiritual connection. Okay. So that's a little bit how it works. And I'm going to be coming out with like, and on my website, I'm going to be coming out with this really cool profile where you get to take, you get to find out right away what kind you are, what kind your partner is. And I'm just going to have a lot of fun with this. So everybody, who's listening pretty soon, that'll be up pretty soon. Maybe even by the time this comes out, that'll be up.
That's great. Yeah. Well, definitely everyone will have access to your website. Let me ask you something. When you were talking about the secret one, is there a secret one that you might feel guilt or shame about, or are afraid to? Or is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, for example, a lot of people are an earth lover as a hidden. So that means they really want that physical touch, that physical orgasmic sexual connection. But there's a lot of shame perhaps associated, or guilt associated, not feeling good enough, not feeling, not feeling like a good enough man, not feeling like a good enough woman. And so you long for that, but there's layers of guilt. So it's hard to feel free about that. So one of the beautiful parts about this is it's a shame lifter. Okay. Right. So we rise through the levels of shame to feel good about ourselves. I believe everybody needs that. At the core, there's really two things that all of the different lover types, they all carry. Bottom line is like, I'm afraid I'm not a good enough lover. Right. And I'm afraid that, nobody will want me. I'm not going to be wanted. So those are undercurrents of all humans have those challenges. And that's why we get into relationships. It's not to compound those things. Okay. It's to lift those things. So the purpose of getting into relationship is that we both can learn how to help each other grow and to feel whole and to feel worthy. Okay. So a relationship goes two ways. It either makes you feel less worthy, you feel more contained and more constricted, or you support each other. My partner supports me to feel free and feel, accepted and wanted and all of these things by our everyday interactions. Okay.
Yeah. I want to ask you, so, just talking about guilt and shame, and also talking about what women want and the way women are perceived in our world and how they have been perceived in the past and where we've grown to, in 2022. But is it still, would you say, are we still considered, well, I guess I think that we are, because I know people that are, myself included probably, considered that if you like sex, you're a slut, or if you don't like sex, you're a prude, like these labels or these fears that we have of like, if I really, like somebody judging you maybe by how many partners you have or by how many partners you've never had, or, like, how do you talk to people this way? How do we like have these conversations so that we're not hanging on to guilt and shame or, blame or looking at each other in these different ways, like how can we create more love and peace and joy and, a world that's more accepting?
Well, you asked
in 5 minutes, just give it to me.
I'd love to. I really would, because I think there's one of the things that is we've already touched upon that the expectations that we have, if we expect to be limited by other people's opinions, we will be. Okay. And if we have an attitude and we turn the key, and instead of being locked into and judged by other people's opinions, we turn that key, we open the door, and we say, you know, I've just never been one to be affected by other people's opinions. I mean, you got to make a decision at some point in your life. And it's never too late to say, I'm going to live my own life. I only have a very short time here on this planet, and I'm going to live it the way I want. Now, I know that that's not always easy. Okay. And it hasn't always been easy for me. I've had judgments. I've had people have their opinions, but in my heart of hearts and in my choices and in my relationships and in my sexuality, and every single day, I make it my business. I make it my choice. I make it my experience and expectation that I am going to live my life as best I can. And it's not always possible. You can't always just do exactly what you want. You know, you've got kids, you've got a job, you've got all these, circumstances, but inside of that, to do your best, to do your best to live in the stream. And the best way to do that, I'm just going to cut to the quick here. Okay, because there's sharks out there. There's people that are hunting, and there's people that are going to, put you down. I call them dream stealers. They don't feel good about themselves. So they go and munch on your dream, and they just want to put you down. And you're from Maine, I mean, you're from the East Coast, right? So, the crabs in the buckets, they just want to pull you down. They're trying to crawl out of your bucket. And then there's all these other crabs, and they just want to pull you down. No, you got to stay here with us with the bucket of crabs. And no, I don't want to. So you're trying to crawl out and get pulled down, And so, it does take effort. All right.
Yeah.
And so the key thing is like, don't try to swim in shark infested waters as best you can. Surround yourself like with a pod of dolphins, people who support you, who believe in you. This is one of the most empowering things that women can do, is discern who you get to hang out with.
Wow.
Now, everybody I know has somebody, maybe I have somebody, in my family. I'm not going to mention names in case they watch this. Remember, it was challenging. So I don't I limit, I do love them despite, things that drive me crazy, but I don't spend a lot of time. Okay. I guard my time. I choose very, very carefully who do I want to spend these precious few little hours I've got on this earth here with. Mm-hmm. And the more empowered people that we can hang around. And if you don't know lots of empowering people, you read books, you go to movies, you watch things in your environment, you bring up your own energy. And that brings me to another thing. How do you attract people that are at a higher frequency? Because it's all about frequency, Arorah. It, as you know, it's all about frequency. Well, what I say is that, and this is what I share. I do women's groups too, Shakti. Okay, we get together, and this is the essence of what women share about in Shakti. All right. So, I look at it like we have a basket, because the feminine is a basket. We are gathering energy. Let's imagine that I've got this basket here. Now, what we should do with our own frequency, with our own energy. Energy is frequency. If we are scraping at the bottom of our basket, meaning we run ourselves ragged, we don't have nourishing friendships, we're exhausted. I talk to people on the phone all the time, and it's just it saddens me, really, how many people are running on fumes, how many people are exhausted. And that's because they have conditioning. They're scraping the barrel, they're giving for everybody else. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel of themselves, of their own energy, and they're trying to please, and they're trying to take care of everyone else. And so what I do in the feminine trainings that I share is I show women how do you fill your own basket first. And you fill your basket with not only just bubble baths and dancing and gardening. That's very, very important. But also you fill your basket with beautiful friendships. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Surrounding yourself by the best people that you possibly can. Seek out those people. Spend less time with the ones that that bring you down, and really, really avoid talking and getting together with anybody who you're just criticizing and talking badly about politics or other people, whatever. I just don't go there. I mean, I just do not spend time with those people. I notice it, it's a drag. It's like, okay, great. That's where you want to hang out. Like, I'm going to choose to hang around people that are doing interesting things that are, like I just took up a new sport. I just took up pickleball. It's like, oh, what fun, and just people that are engaged in different ways that can show me things. All right. So that's what I mean by surround yourself with a pod of dolphins, of people that are swimming and that are playing and having adventures. That will lift your frequency. So you fill your basket up, and so that it starts to overflow with doing fun things, meeting interesting people, taking good care of yourself, self-care, and all that, and so on. And then your basket starts to overflow. So whether you're single or whether you're in a relationship, you're filling your basket with things that you love. Bottom line, I mean, I love reading. So that's one of the things I do. I love. It's like, wow, when I have an afternoon where I can just read, it's like, oh, how fun is that, right? So your basket starts to overflow. And that's what you give to others from the overflow of your energy, not from scraping the barrel and being depleted. And the fastest way to get depleted is to do what everybody else thinks you should do. Getting back to your original thing of getting swayed and living your life by other people's expectations, other people's beliefs. That's a choice. You can either run your life with your own rules. And I say, like, if you're going to run your life, play the game to win. So create rules where you're winning. Create friendships, relationships, sexual experiences where you're playing the game to win. And if there is a challenge and if there is a wobble, like the best, example, like you see like this great basketball player. I love basketball players. I think they're very sexy. So we'll use that. So you see this basketball player and he's like on that line and he's got the extra point or whatever it's called. He's, at the free throw line and he's it's only him in the basket. And he goes and he does 2 shots and it goes whoosh, whoosh, twice in basket. Perfect shot. And you think, wow. The question is, how many times did he practice that? Did he throw 10,000 balls at that line to be able to stand there in front of, thousands and millions of people and hit that free throw shot, I think it's called. And it's like, that's one of the things that where the greatest work is. It's what are we conditioning? What are we practicing? And that's where the real change comes is what we're doing in our daily habits. And that's what I work with people to shift, because what we do in the bedroom is an exact mirror reflection of what we're doing every single day.
Yeah. Wow. Love that idea about filling yourself up before you give. I have to ask you this question.
Sure.
It's a personal question.
Okay.
But it's also, it's somewhat for myself too, in the sense that because, your family had to know what you started to do when you started to work and start to work with sexual energy. And how did you manage it? What did you do? What did you say? What happened? Tell us your story about.
All right, I'll get a little personal here.
Yeah.
So, some people know who might be watching. I wrote a book a while back called The Sexual Practices of Kudoshka. And, it has sexual in the titles, right? So once I'm going home and I'm visiting my mom, and of course I've been working on this book for 2.5 years. I go home and I had a copy, and my first copy I decided I'm giving to my mother. And I know she has like views that are not mine, right?
And let's just set the picture here. There are pictures of vaginas, and albeit they're drawn, but there are we're looking at all body parts in this book. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I just consider that so natural. It's hard
I
for
know.
me.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
it's not
But
just like
no, but the
it has
cool thing,
pictures. Yeah.
like, I know my mother very well. I call my mother, she has ostrich medicine, meaning that she can just stick her head in the sand and she just ignores whatever she wants to ignore.
Wow.
And she pays attention to whatever she wants to pay attention. So I show this, I don't have a copy here, but I show her the book and I show her and she goes, oh,
I have
that's
a
very,
copy.
yeah. So she goes, oh, that's very, very nice, but not for your mother. That's what she said. So she never opened it. She never looked at it. And she has a copy, to this day. And she never looked. She was just really proud. She says, oh, you making money selling the book? I said, well, no, not really. But, it brings me lots of opportunities. People are reading it all over the world. And she's so proud of it. So she doesn't want to know the details. That's the good news. And then fast forward. All right. Talking about other people's expectation. And I really had a great challenge in my life. I don't want to give the impression that this has all been a cakewalk, right? So I have been together with a woman for 18 or 19 years right now. And about 15 years ago, I went home and my mom and my sister were coming to visit me. And we were already living together, right? And I've got pictures up and we have one bedroom and my mother comes to stay. She's supposed to stay for 3 nights. But on the second day, we went out for lunch and we're having lunch and we're talking about going out to dinner. And she's mentioning, and I said, yeah, well, what about what about Shayna? And she goes, well, what are you two together? And I was really shocked because I thought it was obvious, right? I wasn't trying to hide anything, right? And then she just shut down. I walked her back in silence, drove her back to the hotel in silence. She wouldn't talk to me, went up to the hotel room and she goes, I just need time. And I said, okay, sure. Now I'm going to quicken this story and we're going to fast forward 15 years, Arorah. My mother did not mention her name for 15 years. Holidays, everything. I went home by myself and I wasn't to speak of my actual life and my actual relationship. Did that hurt? Yes. Did that suck? Yes. But here's the thing. This is how powerful I think you can have both. You can live your own life. I didn't change my lifestyle. It was my choice. And at the same time, I made a decision. Okay. Because I think this is the most important thing that I want to say today, that what we got to do is we got to make a decision about what we want. Right. So I decided that despite my mother's judgment, opinions, and her lack of acceptance of me and my choices, I made a decision that I was going to love her no matter what. She gave me birth and I'm going to love her. So I decided to love her. Was it easy all the time? No, but I made that decision. And I want to talk about the teacher of patience. It's probably the most important teacher. So 15 years later, fast forward, now when we talk on the phone, we've gone, Shin and I just decided one year after, support, all my brothers and sisters were like, this is so cool. We love your partner. And I was so sad because she was a blast and we were going to have so much fun. So one year I just went back and I said, we're going anyway. And so my mother met her and fell in love with her. And now every time I get off the phone, she's like, tell Shane I love her, how's Shane and whatever. And so it's so cool because the thing, and then I decided to never bring up the 15 years. Forget about it. It's over with. Okay. Was it sad? Yeah. I would have liked it different. Yeah. But you see, I had patience and I made a decision, and I really expect to have the remaining years with my mother being the best years we've ever had. And that's what I expect to happen. And guess what? That's what's happening.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that story. That's amazing. And wow, I'm so touched by it. The people that we love the most are the hardest sometimes for us to be ourselves with and be honest with and vulnerable with, and it's such an amazing example. And what I love is the unconditional way that you love your mom. And I know that's because you've really learned how to love through all the practices that you've been through, because, as I said, you're always all in, and you're going to give everything your best. If you're going to meditate, you're going to learn how to do it, and you do it. And
Well, I love what the Buddhists say
yeah,
about love. And well, not all Buddhists. There's uh, one master that I worked with, and he said that what you want to do, this love is a boundless energy. Love isn't containable. Love is all the vast energy. We were all born from an act of love, regardless of how
how
messed up our parents were. It was still the coming together of the essence of life. And that's where we come from. And that's what we were created by.
yeah,
And so we're all seeking to come back home to that. We all want that place of coming home to that acceptance and that safety and that just seeing the beauty of being alive. And that's who we really are.
yeah.
We all want the same thing. And so the idea is just to really, what the Buddha says, like, make your love so big that it can't get stuck anyplace.
That's awesome. Absolutely.
I just
100%.
I just love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, this has been an incredible interview. I'm gonna ask you one last question. You sort of asked this question to everyone I've interviewed. So the last question is, if you could give only one piece of advice to men on how to approach and be with a woman, what would it be?
Mm. The image that comes to my mind is to treat her like an exquisite flower that is very, very delicate, that opens with brightness, that opens with compliments and appreciation, but that also has its closure in the evenings when the light is dim. So she has her privacy, respect that. And when she starts to open, just let her open in her own way, in her own time. Don't rush her. Don't expect her to open at your speed. Like, just watch, just observe, just notice and appreciate the beauty of her opening. And if you think that that fragileness is weakness, you are very, very mistaken. Because if you think about all the flowers on the planet, they go through winter, they get cut down, they get munched by lawnmowers and whatnot. The thing is, they keep coming back. And they are the most exquisite, the most beautiful examples of pure, exquisite beauty. I mean, who made up flowers? My goodness. Who made up women? We are so beautiful. We are so exquisite. And all you need to do, gentlemen, is just allow us to open our beauty in our own way and respect what you see. Observe and behold the beauty and never interfere with the feminine. Because when we interfere with the feminine, life cannot evolve.
Mm. Whoa. I love you.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity to be
This
so
was
poetic.
amazing. I knew it was going to be good, but I was like, this is really, really, really good. I love what you're doing. I love everything that you've done, Amara. You are such a blessing to this planet, to men and to women of all genders and all types. And, thank you for helping to heal a lot of people. And thank you for spending time with me today.
You are so welcome. It has been just really, really a pleasure. And I look forward to hanging out with you in the flesh one day.
Me too.
I just want to announce real quick here, because I'm planting this seed, and I've been talking about flowers. I want to plant this seed. And so the next live retreat that I am planning is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It is going to be a couples retreat, but you could come with a partner. And so you want to come with somebody you really want to be intimate with, because I'm going to call it Love in the Alcove. And in this retreat, I am just going to open the lid, and we're going to go deeper into care and love and intimacy and ecstasy and bliss than I have ever gone before.
Wow.
And so I want I want to introduce some of the very profound and loving healing practices that lovers can bring into their love life that will deepen their love, that will keep them happy and youthful and fun. So it's really going to be a blast. It's going to be the most safe and secure place that I can imagine. So if you don't yet have a partner, like plan it. It's going to be next September. And,
September 2023.
yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
So with that, I'm offering gifts. You'll talk about those. And I'm offering 2 ways you can watch my masterclass, which covers some of these things. Also, I want to give the opportunity if people want to connect with me directly. I'm going to offer the people who really want to find out and go deeper into what's preventing them from feeling this flow of love that they long for. They can work with me and connect with me personally.
Oh,
So
thank
that's
you.
the gift.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think there'll be many people who want exactly what you're sharing. Thank you, Amara.
You are welcome. Great to see you. Bye
Great
for
to
now.
see you. Take care. Bye.
Yep. Bye.